Hello, my name is Lai Chan. I'm presenting my research study, which is exploring academic teaching staff, how they are coping with current workloads demands and maintaining their mental health well-being at the same time. Exploring the personal attributes which are aligned to mental toughness principles and how they can provide protection to an individual's mental health well-being. This is a qualitative study which I recruited 10 academic teaching staff from my own institution to take part in this study. None of them are from my own faculty. This is to reduce bias and coercion. The data collected were between April to July 2019 before the paid strike that happened in November 2019. Over the last few years, I've noticed academic teaching staff working in higher education are constantly being put under pressure to ensure they meet their professional and institutional expectations, such as the REF and the TEF. Anecdotally, many UK universities have increased their student numbers without increasing in staffing levels. Students appear to be more demanding since the increase of tuition fee went up too. Research has flagged up the demand of academic work has made it difficult for many to have a work-life balance. Why mental toughness as the theoretical framework? Well, mental toughness is used widely to describe individuals that perform in pressurized circumstances. Much research tends to focus on various sporting disciplines and recently on students' coping attributes in education. There has been few focus on other occupations. Although the concept mental toughness has been around for 20 years or so, no consensus has been reached regarding its conceptualizations, so there is still a lot more research out there regarding mental toughness. This is the most common mental health toughness model, and there is a mental toughness questionnaire aligned to this model too. And as you can see, there is 4 components around control, commitment, confidence and challenge. In this research, I have used Lazarus and Fogman's model to define stress, because it implies stress can be subjective and can be viewed very differently to different people, which means how individual viewed work-related stress will depend on the individual's perception and appraisal. How they cope with stress will depend on their understanding and their own coping mechanism. For this research, my question is, how do academic teaching staff in United Kingdom cope with current work demands and maintain their mental health well-being? And you can see I have 2 objectives, and these are to explore academic personal attributes which are aligned to the mental toughness principles and how they can provide protection to an individual's mental health well-being. And the second objective is to explore potential external factors that could enhance mental toughness. This research was approved by Edgehill Research Ethics Committee in February 2018. There were some dilemma for myself as an insider research. I was very conscious not to voice my own opinion before and during all the interviews and maintain neutral throughout this research and stay focused to the research questions. I recruited 10 participants to this research. These were 7 females and 3 males. Their age ranged from 32 to 58. Mean age was 46. All interviews were audio taped and transcribed, and all participants remained anonymised and only minimum demographic data captured. I used Ritchie and Spencer's framework analysis to analyse the data, and from that the data analysis demonstrated 7 categories. And these were attitude to student / consumer culture, management, early warning signs, control, coping mechanisms, maturity and rewards. And as you can see, there is interconnection between all those categories, and from that, as I'd imagine more in those comments, what was said by those participants, 4 themes were found amongst these categories that came out from the individuals' interviews. The 4 themes were compassion for self and others, self-reliance and determination, adaptability to change, and supportive network. I'm going to present them in no particular order, but the first one I've put on the slide is compassionate for self and others. As you can see, this theme shows the participants were treating themselves and others with kindness and understanding. They discussed their recognition of student hardship, sadness that they cannot control always the way that things are, and trying to support them. In some of their comments, they demonstrate warmth and empathy. So although this is not a normal trait for mental toughness, it is emerging that this appears so for the academic staff. The blue writings is their direct quotes. This quote shows you that individual has thought about their well-being and how they are thought about treating themselves with kindness and being mindfulness of the current and present time that they are in at the moment. The other theme noted is self-reliance and determination. What this has demonstrated, the participants shown that they know that they have to keep going no matter what, and sometimes this determination is not a choice, but as a consequences of what's been happening, or they've been given extra duties to do, and they do know there's things within work that there are pinch times that they have to be motivated to just keep going, really. And equally, I think some people recognise there's reward at the end as well. So that was, you can see the alignment of this theme with some of the categories that we were talking about. As you can see, there are more quotes here describing how they feel about the role and the pinch times that in the academic year that we have to push ourselves and motivate ourselves to work to the maximum. This is an interesting theme on the adaptability to change. Encompass how academics have evolved to cope with the changes that they've encountered and how they manage to achieve a home and work-life balance. As you can see, some of the quotes here, several of the academics mentioned the major development, especially around information technology and the pressure that we're under. Constant communication through emails can be stressful. Here is just 3 examples of the participants describing their own strategies, how they cope with the workload and managing their time, and also trying to get some home life as well. This theme was found when the participants was talking about how being an academic teaching staff can be a lonely job, and they recognise the support that they've got in place, either from their partners or from work. And it was an interesting one because as they talked and described how they become stressed, they might not recognise themselves, but their partners or even their work colleagues recognise them and actually prompt them to do something about it. So it is an interesting theme that I found, that part of this mental toughness that people really appreciate that support network that they have. Okay, so you can see this is a diagram for me to capture what I found within the 4 themes. So as you can see, although these themes found are not typical of the mental toughness attributes, some of them I believe are aligned to the CUF model because of the self-reliance and determination adaptability to change, you could argue they encapsulate the component of confidence, commitment and challenges and control. However, I think what's interesting that isn't in the typical literature around mental toughness is this notion of compassion for self and others and supported network as part of mental toughness. I think that's unique for academic staff. Here is some supporting literature that I found that support some of my thinking regarding the two themes that I particularly recognise within these 10 participants that come out as part of their mental toughness attributes. And I'll let you, read it yourself really, what it's describing some of that. And certainly I think the supporting network is a strong attribute towards mental toughness as a protective factor for individuals' mental health well-being. I think without support, one could argue we are more vulnerable to mental ill health and burnt out. So to conclude this research, these findings that I've concluded from the qualitative research is that the academic teaching staff does have some element of positive psychological attributes that help us to manage the stress that we're under, work-related, and that these can be aligned to mental toughness, this psychological grit that some of the literature talk about. Of course, there is still more research to be completed around this notion that fit in with academic teaching staff as well. I'm hoping that there'll be more research in the future around mental toughness, around more in academic education. Of course, there is limitations to this qualitative research, given that it's only a small sample size and it's taken from only one university. So their perceptions and views cannot be viewed as similar to other universities maybe, or even global representations. Also, given its qualitative research, it can be open to bias and subjectivity from my point of view as an insider researcher. However, I think the concept of mental toughness is still relatively new area that need to explore further, obviously with a bigger empirical study. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions for me, I look forward to speaking to you all. Thank you.